Hey everyone, how's it going today? And hopefully everyone is doing great. So the big idea is that, as most people may or may not know or will know by now, is that the CPI inflation report did recently come out and was released about a week from the release of this video. So if you're watching this into the future, this video is probably going to be relevant for the next 1 month or so. And the big idea is that the CPI inflation report, it was not very good. That's really the bottom line story. The idea is that inflation went up and skyrocketed, it accelerated, and the numbers are still relatively high to what we want it to be. Because again, keep in mind is that the goal is not to remove inflation. A little bit of inflation is actually pretty good for the economy, but what they really want to do is they just don't want it to go up as fast, and that's really the goal behind it. But today's video is not necessarily going to be about the inflation report, but a lot more about the things that you should potentially now be doing now that we know what the inflation report is, to prepare yourself for the upcoming interest rate cuts and to potentially make a lot of money. If you play the cards right and everything goes smoothly, there is potentially going to be a lot of money to be made on during this particular time period and era when we are facing everything related to inflation. So let's just get right started to like the 5 things that you should do before the interest rates start getting cut while we are still here right now at this present day. But as always, if you guys enjoy videos, you guys know the same exact drill. Remember to smash the like button, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and let's get started. So the first thing that you really should be doing, oh, and by the way, as always, I'm going to put timestamps on the bottom so you can skip around, but all of these points are going to be delivered in order of what I think is the most important thing that you should start by doing first, all the way to not necessarily the least important thing, but the things that you should do maybe later on to be able to kind of set yourself up. So the goals from importance wise. But the first thing that you should really consider doing is going to be to try to consider saving money. Now, this is going to be the first thing on our list. The reason why is that because if inflation really starts to accelerate and go up very high, it means that things are going to get very expensive, or things have already gotten expensive, but they're going to be getting even more expensive if we're not able to control inflation. So saving money is going to be very prime and important, because it's going to allow you to basically be able to prepare for these increased expenses to be able to pay your bills. This is the first thing on the list, because this is what you're going to have to need to take advantage of emergencies, costs, the basic necessities, survival budgets, and everything like that. This is what this first point is going to be about. So that's why it's going to go up on the list. Now, the second thing that really is important that you have to consider doing if you're currently preparing for the inflation situation is, if you are someone that's currently unemployed, you have to look to try to get employment as soon as you possibly can. Now, if you are someone that's actually employed and you're currently working, then there's a little bit less urgency, but I still highly recommend you also consider looking for a new job. The reason is that because it's going to be very important to try to build up your career fast in order to prepare for all of these increased expenses. The big idea behind it is that because it's similar to how we've mentioned in past videos in this particular channel about how it's very important when it comes to building wealth to be able to play defense, which is basically about saving money, which is what we mentioned in the first point. But it's also just as important to worry about offense, which is where you actually make more money. And so finding and trying to build up your career right now at this time and having a little bit of a sense of urgency is going to be very crucial, so that you can potentially do that during a time when inflation is still now skyrocketing. And while it is true that it's going to be controlled soon, it's still one of those things, again, keep in mind, as we've mentioned before, but it's so important to notice, is that the goal is not to remove inflation. The goal is to keep inflation, but to slow it down so that it doesn't go up as fast. And so because of that reason, at the end of the day, prices are still expected to go up. And that's why it's particularly important to save money and then to worry about employment so that you can potentially make more money. Now, I did actually recently make a video, not recently, but I think a little bit ago, I did make a video talking about several tricks to save money. So if that is a video of interest, I talk a little bit about how I saved my first 100K, but specifically off of low income. So this is the target audience for this video is going to be for people that are in particular need of a lot of money. And so we're not talking about people that are making 6 figures, because obviously it's very easy to make a lot of money if you're already making 6 figures. We're just talking about people with a very humble salary and how they can survive and get through in order to save as much money as they possibly can. But that really does it for the second point. Now, once you have enough money saved up, and once you play offense and you do have money that you're able to build up as well every single week and coming from your job and stable employment, hopefully, then the next and third step to really, really look into is, and this is going to be the fun part, is that you're going to have to now look into investing your money. This is the part where it becomes really, really crucial. And this is where you're either going to make a lot of money or you're not necessarily not going to make a lot of money, but just, you're not going to make as much money. You're either going to make a lot or you're not going to make as much. And it's going to be coming from your investment. And the reason why this is going to be so important, this is going to be tied into the inflation rate situation right now, is that because during 2022 and 2023, most of 2023 at least, as most people probably saw is that we had a very, very horrible stock market. All of the stocks crashed. People lost a lot of money. And the reason for this was because of the interest rate hikes. As interest rates went up during that time period, it helped to control inflation, which is the really, really good news. But at the same time, what it also did is that it tanked the stock market because it was a lot harder to borrow money. It was a lot harder for businesses to survive that were like living off of debt, loan, everything in that particular world was a struggle. So because of that reason, stocks crashed. But the good news is, at least for the good and bad reasons, again, depending on how you see it, but the good news for most of us is when it comes to building wealth is that now in 2024, we are potentially now about to see the reverse. We are about to see interest rates start cutting again. And if interest rates start cutting again soon, hopefully they're going to be coming soon, it means that money is going to be a lot easier to borrow. It means that businesses are going to be able to start to come back and sustain a little bit better now, specifically businesses that are operating on a loan, because that's where interest rates really matter. Because if you're a business and you're like a multi-generational company, then it doesn't really matter. But if you're more of like a startup business, if you're more of like a young business where you're still running from borrowed money, where interest rates are actually going to impact the amount of wealth and money you have, then this is going to be really, really particularly important. So in these particular situations, what it's going to do is that when the interest rates start getting cut, it's expected that it's going to take the stock market and skyrocket it to new highs once again, assuming, and the key word is assuming, that you still at the end of the day have to select and choose the right stocks. But if most stocks go up, like what happened in 2020 when it came to the pandemic because of the money printing and everything that was going on, then it means that your probability of trying to make money through this process is going to be very, very high. You still have to be careful. You still have to know what you're doing. You still have to be cautious, but the probability, it's in your favor. And I think that's the really, really good news behind it. And that's going to be the third point to really be able to make about things that you should do before the stock, before they start cutting interest rates once again, and before the inflation situation starts being controlled. Now, the fourth thing that you should really, really consider doing is a little bit of an extension off of investing, but it's going to be particularly important as well because it also ties into the stock market and investing and everything in that world. And it's going to be to really try to contribute to your retirement account. This is really, really important because a lot of people during the 2022 and 2023 era contributed to their retirement account, which is important and very, very good stuff. But the problem is that they contributed to their retirement during a really, really bad economy. They contributed it during a time period when stocks and a lot of things went down. So it doesn't matter if you contribute to your Roth IRA and you don't have to pay taxes for it once several years into the future if you ended up losing money from all of that stuff anyway. But it will matter if you end up making money. And so because this is potentially going to be the time, as we've mentioned in the stock market, to make a lot of money, and because a lot of people's retirement accounts are tied to the stock market, then what this really means is that because if this is a really, really good time to invest money and try to park your money in the stock market, it also means it's a very, very good time to now potentially invest and start to park your money in your retirement accounts as well. The bottom line is to try to look into contributing to your retirement, your Roth IRAs, your 401ks, like you should be doing, but particularly now now because of how the economy is now expected to flip in the coming near future. Now, we don't actually know when that's going to happen, but it is expected before the end of this year. So before the end of 2024, this is going to be the case. And that's why this becomes the fourth thing that you should do before the interest rates start getting cut and before the reversal and everything that's going on right now. And probably the fifth and the final thing to really be able to mention, and this one you definitely have to hear out, is before the inflation rate gets controlled, before interest rates start getting cut again, this is going to be a really crucial time, because we all talk about how on this channel there's so much more to it than just spending and making money, even though that's very important. But it's going to be a very crucial time that if you do have the money to be able to do this, to now enjoy life and to just spend it and splurge on whatever you want. This is assuming that you actually have the extra money. Obviously, that's why this is the last point we're going to be making, because if you don't have the money for this, then you probably should worry about saving money, which goes back to the first point. But if you do have money, if you've already taken care of saving your money, if you've already taken care of investing your money, if you've contributed to retirement, and if you have stable employment, then the final step in all of this is going to be to just enjoy life. Because the reason why, and you definitely why I say you have to hear this out, is that because at the end of the day, as important as it is to make money, you have to still sometimes enjoy a little bit. You know what I mean? And the idea really behind this one is why you want to enjoy now is that because if prices start to really skyrocket high, it means that it's going to get a lot more expensive to enjoy life in the future if you postpone it too much into the future. So examples of this would be like if you like to travel, if you want to go to concerts, if you want to go to athletic games, basketball games, anything like that, ticket prices, travel, expenses, fine dining, all of this stuff, whatever your heart desires, it's going to get more expensive and harder to do it. If you try to do it now, your money will go a lot further than what it will be in the future. Because again, as I said, and I've said it before, but it's so important to really understand this, is that they're not going to be trying to create de-inflate, or what's the reverse of, the reverse of inflation. They're not trying to make prices drop. They're just trying to make prices not go up as fast. But at the end of the day, prices not going up as fast is still prices going up. And if prices are going up, it means your money is not going to go as far. And that's the reason why, while you still have the current economy that we're currently in right now, it's becoming even more important as it has been, to just enjoy a little bit, to live a little bit, and to just splurge it on whatever your heart desires. But hopefully this basically just covers the 5 different points that we really want to cover in today's video about things that you should do before interest rates end up cutting. So as always, if you guys enjoyed that video, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, stay safe, stay well. Remember to smash the like button, comment, feel free to comment anything, suggestions, improvements, things you like. Subscribe, hit the bell, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again.